Hi. So around 3 days to go for the final RBI DEPR 2024 exam. And as you are in the final round of your preparation, you should also plan your approach for the examination day. So in this video, we are going to discuss the basics of that and some final tips for your exam. So we will divide this discussion in the following way. First, we will understand to prepare ourselves for the final examination day, what all to do before the exam. This discussion will be from the point of view of administrative things to do. Next, we will understand how to handle the exam. That means what all to do during the exam. And of course, after that, we will discuss some tips to approach this exam. The first thing to note is that you should read the instructions given in your information handout and admit cards very thoroughly. No matter how experienced you are with these examinations, even if you have appeared for IBPS exam 5, 6, 7 times, it won't take much time if you open your admit cards and the information handout and read it thoroughly. It might take 5 minutes or even less than that. It is very common observation that people do not read these instructions and then they keep on asking different things to the invigilator in the examination, or they keep struggling with the system. Hence, I urge you strongly, please read the instructions very thoroughly right now. And notice that without valid documents, you will not be allowed to appear for this examination. You need 2 admit cards, one for the morning shift and one for the afternoon shift. Also, you need an ID proof to be carried in original and 2 photocopies of it. Also, you need 2 photographs and you have to paste these photographs on your 2 admit cards. Now, what all documents are accepted as valid ID proof? Have a look at that. Those instructions you will find in your admit card or the information handout. So if your admit card is given like this, then here there will be some space to paste your photograph. So on each admit card, you can already paste your photograph using a Fevicol, glue stick or something of that sort. It is a common observation again that people do not paste these photographs right now, and in the examination hall they keep on searching for glue stick, Fevicol so that they can paste it. Okay. If you have extra photos, then what you can do is you can carry extra photos also and paste one on each admit card here. But do not leave it for the examination hall. Similarly, these photocopies which you are carrying, one photocopy of your original ID proof has to be stapled along with this admit card. So you can do those things right now. That means before the examination. In the examination hall, people keep searching for stapler so that they can staple the photocopy with the admit card. Those things you do not have to be dependent on to do in the last stage. These things, please do it right now. Reach the examination center well in time. For example, on your admit card, the time for the morning shift has been written as 7:30 a.m. And many of you are already trying to estimate till what time entry will be allowed so that we can go at that time only. See, if IBPS had to tell you all those things, they would have written in your admit card only. But because they have not done that and told you to reach by 7:30, you should be reaching there by 7:30 only. In practice, we expect that the entry will start at 7:30 a.m. and it will be open till around 8 a.m. But do not depend on it. You should reach the examination center by 7:30 only. Because see, technically, if let's say you reach there at 7:45 a.m. and let's say they have changed the rule for this examination and they tell you that you have not reached by the time, so we are not allowing you to enter. So why take that stress? Although it is possible that you might be allowed to enter, let's say till 8 a.m., but do not depend on that. You should be reaching there by 7:30 a.m. only. Next, you can carry some high energy, light food or drink. For example, personally, I carry dry fruits or packaged coconut drinking water. To decide right now what you want to carry and arrange them. Similarly, for example, here you know that we need photographs, and in your admit cards they have written preferably you carry those photographs only which you had uploaded in the examination form while applying. So it is a common instance again that one day before the exam, people ask whether we have to carry the same photograph. If we carry some other photograph, will there be any problem? So why get into that hassle? you already have time and you already know you need photos. So arrange those photos and keep them ready. The next point is important. You will be asked to keep your bag outside the examination hall at your own risk/responsibility. IBPS or RBI will not take any responsibility of your belongings. The security arrangement at different centers can be of different quality, but no one will take responsibility if something happens to your stuff. For example, in one of the exams with one candidate, he lost his entire bag. That bag contained his mobile phone, wallet, and many other important things. Hence, it is advisable that you carry only the essential items in your bag. If you are not already aware of the location of the center, then of course you will have to carry mobile phones also. And most examination centers give you the facility to deposit your mobile phones for an amount, for a fee. But personally, even I find it to be a hassle only, because to deposit a mobile phone, we first have to stand in the queue. Then they will not give the mobile phone in the break when we have a break of 1 hour. And while going back home, we have to stand in the queue again and collect our mobile phones. So if I'm not using my mobile phone during the day, then what is the point of even carrying it if I know the location of the center? If I do not know the location, then because of I might need to use the Google Maps or GPS, I might need it. If I know the location, I don't need it. So on that, you can take your call, but remember that to carry only essential items, do not carry extra cash. You will not need it. Carry only what you will need for your transportation. And if you think you will need to buy something to eat there or something like that, maybe some cash for that, but not too much. Personally, I always keep cash in my pocket, something like rupees 500 I tend to keep in my pocket, so that just in case, in the worst scenario, if my bag goes missing, I have some money in my pocket to reach my home. In Delhi, many of you have the center of Pawan Ganga institution. So that if you have already visited before, you would know that it is like a college and there is not too many stalls there to have your, let's say, some snacks during the break. So it is better if you carry something to eat during the break. They also provide you the facility to keep your bag. For example, here there will be a rope. Everyone is roaming here. That means auto rickshaw people, bus driver, taxi drivers, all those are here. And on this side of the road, the rope, there'll be some racks on which you can keep your bag. So of course, you understand that it's not completely safe. So carry only the essential things. That's what I am stressing you, because someone has lost their bag in previous examinations, not at this center, but at some other center. But still, be careful. So once the entry starts, you will need to carry only the essential stuff to the examination hall. Remember, all other things you have to keep in your bag. So if you are going for the 7:30 shift, please keep in mind you have to carry the 7:30 a.m. admit card only. It will be printed on your admit card. So see which one is the 7:30 a.m. Only that you carry. One photocopy and one photo pasted. Apart from that, you can carry your pens, pencil, whatever is around. Remember, you should be carrying only transparent pens and transparent water bottles. If these things are not transparent and if the examination center people are strict, they have the right to disallow it and they will not allow you to carry it inside. By transparent, I just mean that they should be able to look through it to confirm that you are not hiding anything within your pen. So you take these essential things and you will move or proceed to your examination hall. But there will be many examination halls. So you have to understand to which examination hall you have to go. How will you know that? So find a list somewhere. They would have placed this list, and in that list, they would have specified people having roll number in this range. They have to go to this examination hall. It is located on so and so floor. So see that list, and from that list, you will understand where you have to go. This list is usually pasted somewhere outside the examination center only. So the moment you reach your center, find this list and find out in which hall you have to go. Once entry begins and you start moving towards your examination hall, and once you reach the examination hall, then there you have to register yourself. So you will see a desk wherein the one of the invigilators is sitting. There'll be a queue of students standing on that desk to get themselves registered. It is like their attendance. So there they will click your photograph. They might also take your thumb impression. And then they will allot you a seat number. Go on that seat and sit on that particular seat. You will also see your own photograph being displayed, both one which you uploaded at the time of application and the second one which they just clicked. In the photograph which they just clicked, of course, you might look a less beautiful than you actually are. So do not worry about that. Its purpose is only to identify you. If on the computer screen your photo is being displayed, then it is clear that you are at the right desk and you prepare yourself to appear for the exam now. Now you are waiting to log in and begin your exam. However, you will be able to log in only about 10 minutes before the scheduled time. So let's say if the examination theoretically is scheduled to start around 8:30 a.m., then you will be able to log in into the system around 8:20 a.m., not before that. So entry started around 7:30 a.m. and let's say you managed to reach your seat, do registration and all, let's say by 8 a.m. So you will have a time of around 15 to 20 minutes during which you will be sitting on your seat, and you should utilize this time to prepare for the exam. Basically, do anything that you feel will calm your mind. For example, how I try to do about is, when I reach my seat, I put my head down initially, and when there are about 10 minutes remaining from the start of the exam, then I try to do some breathing exercises. Focus on your Agya Chakra, which is the center of your forehead. I also try to bring my hands in the formation of Gyan Mudra. You can just Google and know what it is. Of course, you do not necessarily have to do all these things. All that I'm saying and implying is you have to improve your focus, because you would have woken up early in the morning. You would have traveled, and in between you might have had some hassle. For example, some of you might have been late, some of you might have been waiting for transport, etc., etc. So now is the time to calm your mind and improve your focus. Ultimately, the execution of what you have learned during the next 2 hours will be very crucial. So you want to calm your mind and improve your focus. So anything that you think will help you improve your focus, do that. If you feel it is helpful to think about any topic, any important topic or any important question in your exam, you can even keep thinking about it. But focus on calming yourself. Once you log in using the user ID and password mentioned on your admit card, you will be able to see the instructions. They have devoted around 10 minutes of time for these instructions only. So please go through these instructions very well. If you read these instructions, it might take less than 2 minutes, and the remaining time you can focus on calming your brain. Next, you will have to copy one handwriting sample. The sentence will be shown on your computer screen. That sentence you have to copy on your admit card in the space provided to you. Once you do that, you can move ahead after 3 minutes and begin your exam. The first exam, that is the first paper, will be of economics, 2 hours duration, 100 marks. And after you complete this paper, you will have to exit this examination hall, go out of the examination center. There will be a gap between the two papers of around 1 hour. And then again, you will have to enter for paper 2 using the 11:30 a.m. admit card and one photocopy of your original ID proof and photograph pasted on this admit card also. And then you have to follow the same procedure to reach and appear for paper 2. So let's talk about paper 1 very briefly. You already know 120 minutes, 100 marks. So based on that, you understand that for a 1 mark question, you have approximately 1.2 minutes. And for 2 mark question, you have approximately 2.4 minutes. So keep a track of time. In the year 2023, there were 2 sections, one consisting of only 1 markers and the second section consisting of all the 2 markers. So let's say you begin with this section first. So keep a track of time. Once you have completed, let's say 10 questions or 15 questions, have a look at the timer and see how much time you have used up. Remember, one markers are usually easy. You should be able to mark and move ahead within, let's say, 20 seconds. You do not need the complete 1.2 minutes for one markers. Of course, there can be some questions which involve taking more time. Of course, for those you can, but generally try to mark and move ahead within as less time as possible so that you can save some time for the relatively difficult questions. Next is, what kind of questions to expect in the exam? Will it be easy, moderate, or difficult? And here again, I see the same thing. When I was in my undergraduation and I asked this question to my statistics professor, he had said that the examination will be like life. Most of the questions will be easy and solvable. There will be some questions which will be moderately difficult, and even fewer than that will be difficult. As this is a competitive exam, your fight is to ensure that you do not miss out on easy questions and make no silly mistakes. Out of the moderately difficult and the difficult questions, it is okay if you do not know the answer to a few questions. You can leave them. Some of these questions you will be able to solve once you apply your knowledge and save some time for the end to devote to such questions. My humble suggestion to you is that do not go into the exam with some preconceived notion of what the exam will be like. For example, if you go into the exam thinking that, okay, the exam will be easy like before, and if that does not happen, then it is possible that you might begin to panic. So that's why do not go ahead with any preconceived notion. Remember that you have studied this subject for, let's say, 3 years or 5 years, and your level of understanding is at a decent level. You have also prepared for this exam, and hence, no matter what kind of paper is asked, the same paper has to be attempted by all the candidates. So if it is a difficult paper, it is difficult for everyone because people have done almost the same kind of preparation. If there is any question which is out of the expected ones, then it is like that for almost all the candidates, right? If there is any question whose answer you do not know, and if you are sure of your preparation, then it is possible that even your competitor may not be aware of its answer. So such questions will not affect the cutoff. Your task is to ensure that you do not miss out on easy questions. You do not miss out on those questions whose answer your competitor would know. And that's where the role of preparation and practice comes in. Now, next thing is you might want to know how many questions to attempt to be on a safe side. The short answer to that question is no one can predict beforehand because that depends on the level of difficulty. If the paper is difficult, then most people would end up attempting relatively fewer questions, and it would be okay if you attempt few questions. On the other hand, if the paper is easy, then of course most of you will end up attempting more questions. So if you attempt less questions, it will not work out. So how many questions to attempt? In short, that decision can be taken as per your preparation level. So what I suggest is that you begin the paper and you attempt the paper in rounds. That means round 1, round 2, round 3, etc. In the first round, try to mark answer to those questions whose answers you are relatively sure of. And let's say out of 65 questions, you manage to mark the answer to 45 questions as an example. Then you begin round 2. And out of the remaining 20 questions, you have to see how many you can solve and how many you would want to leave out. Now, it is possible that there would be some questions, let's say 5 questions, whose answer you feel you're 50-50 confident, in the sense that there are 2 options in which you are confused. Now, you can take a call whether to mark one of these options which you feel might be correct or leave them completely. That decision can be taken only as per your risk preference. Personally, I tend to take such risk. Now, but let me point out very clearly, I do not attempt those questions about which I have no idea. In the exam, there will be some questions, maybe 5, maybe 7, whose idea I would not have at all. Now, those questions I would not want to attempt. I will just leave out those questions properly. Also, remember there will be some question whose answer I do not know, but based on the question, I am able to make some logical guess. For example, in the 2023 paper, there was a question which was something like that, which of the following organizations had released a report entitled so and so, and they had given 4 options, the name of different organizations. So this question, many of the candidates may have been able to attempt because they could read the name and then they could kind of guess which organization might have released it. So such questions can still be attempted, perhaps based on your intuition. But remember that if you are going blindly, as in you have no idea about the question, but still marking the option, then there's a high probability that it might not work out well. So such questions we can leave out. But some questions we usually guess based on this criteria or based on some intuition, those are fine. But keep your guesses within limits. You have attempted the mock test now, and based on mock test, you would have formed your own strategy of how many questions to attempt and in which order to attempt, whether to attempt 2 markers first, whether to attempt 1 markers first, etc. So follow your own strategy depending on what you have decided. Then you complete this exam, exit, have some energy, food or drink, then come back for the next session. So your next session will be your English descriptive exam, in which you have to answer 4 questions. In the 2023 paper, the questions were from essay, essay writing, reading comprehension and formal letter. In the information handout, they have also specified other things. For example, questions testing our vocabulary, paragraph writing, etc. So even they can be asked. Be mentally open for them as well. Now the next question can be how much time to devote to each of these 4 questions. Again, I tend to use the same rule. For 100 marks, I have 120 minutes. That means for 1 mark, I have nearly 1.2 minutes. And for 35 mark essay, I will have 35 into 1.2 minutes. This is the maximum time I have for essay. Similarly, based on the marks devoted to other questions, I can decide how much time to devote to them. Now, I have also given the link to the previous year's analysis of phase 1. In that, you can see what were the marks allotted to these questions, and accordingly try to decide how much time you want to devote to them. Next, which question out of these 4 to attempt first? Personally, I always attempt the essay portion. The reason is that essay requires thinking. So let's say based on this criteria, I have decided to devote approximately 45 minutes to it. Now, it is possible that while I am writing the essay, my time gets overshot and I end up taking, let's say, 50 minutes for the essay. Now, that is okay. If you're spending 5 to 10 minutes more on essay, I have the margin to cut down on my time for Pressy, for RC, for letter, let's say by 5 minutes. That is doable. So that's why I tend to begin with essay first. And remember, you would want to complete this as quickly as possible. So from the beginning only, try to maintain good speed. Also, one suggestion which I want to give you is that, so when you come back after shift 1, when you come back to the seat and you are sitting on that seat, okay, one more thing. After the first shift, it is not necessary that you will be coming back to the same examination hall. Again, outside the examination hall, just check if they have put any new list for examination halls or not. If they have not put, then you might be coming back to the same. Otherwise, if they have put the new list, follow the new list. Okay. So when you enter the examination hall now and you are sitting on your seat after completing the registration, now you can utilize this time to brainstorm ideas for essay. For example, let's say you have 15 minutes time to brainstorm. So try to think, अगर ये टॉपिक आ गया, so how will I structure my essay? On the other hand, अगर ये टॉपिक आया, तो how will I structure my essay? So when you are doing this exercise, you are already putting some stress on your brain and your brain begins to function already. On the other hand, if you wait till seeing the question to make your brain work, then usually the brain takes 5 to 10 minutes to make the structure. In this, whatever important topics you can think of, you try to decide what structure will I make if this topic comes. If this topic comes, what will be my structure? पहला पैराग्राफ ये होगा, ऐसे मैं इंट्रोडक्शन दूंगा, ये मेरा बॉडी कंटेंट होगा, ये पॉइंट्स मैं इस पैराग्राफ में लिखूंगा. So those things if you can do beforehand, And if that question only appears in the exam, you're going to save some time. And trust me, this exercise can come out useful. For example, I remember in one of the exams, I was doing this exercise and I was thinking about the topic credit. If credit is asked in the question, the essay part, I'll structure my essay in so and so way. Now, instead of credit, in the actual exam, there was a question on microfinance. So straight away, the time that I would have needed for structuring, that I had already done before the exam started. So this exercise is useful in my opinion. Even if a direct question is not asked from the topics that you thought of, still you will have thought of these points and they would be fresh in your mind. And these points you will be able to use in other essay also. So personally, I would attempt essay first and then I will go to essay writing and then I would go to formal letter and at last I would go to reading comprehension. This is my preference, but of course you can take your own call. Next thing is, especially for those who are appearing for the descriptive exam on the first time, you would know that the space to write your answers would be limited. Let's say if this is the total computer screen, then you would be required to write your answers in this much space. So of course, there'll be frequent need to shift or scroll this way, that way, up and down. Be prepared for that. Also, the user interface is such, you cannot copy, you cannot paste. And if you are, let's say, typing here and then you want to make some correction at this place, again, you will have to use your arrow keys and move up. And even there, you will find that it is not very convenient. But of course, it will work out, but it is not as smooth as maybe is MS Word. So plan some 2 to 3 minutes of margin for such things when you have to move up and down the paragraph. And please mention the question number whose answer you are attempting. For example, if there are 4 topics for anything, let's say for letter writing, and you're attempting one of them, then it should be clear to the examiner which one you are attempting. Now, about the paper 1, which is economics objective paper, my suggestion to you is it is okay to have a strategy, but my suggestion is be flexible with that strategy. Do not go ahead with a preconceived notion that I will attempt so many questions, etc., etc. Your objective should be to do your best. Your objective should be to attempt as many questions with accuracy as feasible. Most candidates do end up guessing a few questions. That is okay. As long as the guess is logical, it is fine. But have some idea of how many you want to guess. Okay, let's say if you have tried your strategy during the full length mock test, you can maybe stick to that strategy. Like mentioned already, attempt the paper in rounds. In round 1, do those questions only whose answer you are sure of. In round 2, you can attempt those questions whose answer you're not completely sure of, but you have a probability of, let's say, 0.7 to 0.8 and you feel it is correct with 0.7 to 0.8 probability. Maybe you can attempt those. And similarly, in third round, maybe you can do only those questions which you are guessing. So using that approach, there'll be a limit to how many guesses you are doing, because you will know that now you're beginning a third round and now you're guessing. So you would understand how many you're guessing, maybe around 5, or depending upon the level of difficulty, you can have some number in your mind and decide how many you want to guess. And be attentive towards the options given. Sometimes using the technique of elimination only, you can find the answer. For example, let's say some utility function is given and they have given you 4 options and they have asked you which of them is the optimal point. So first thing, you ensure that given the money income, are all of these points feasible? If they are, then even if you do not know how to solve for optimal point, then you can just substitute the value of these bundles in the utility function and see which one is giving them highest. So if they are, all of them are affordable, then the one which is giving highest utility is the optimal bundle. So my point is, to solve this question, you could solve this question also if you do not understand how to solve for optimal choice for this particular function. Of course, I am giving you only an example. In reality, my only submission is that be attentive towards the options. Sometimes using the options intelligently only, you can find the answer. Next, 1 markers first or 2 markers first. That means whether to attempt one section first or the second section. That decision you should have in mind, and you might have already tried your strategy. You stick to that, but you will have to decide which one to do first. If you do not even take this decision and just let the examination flow, even then that's fine. It will begin with 1 markers. Even that approach is okay. Use color palette intelligently. That means when you're answering a question, if you are completely sure about it, then you select save and next and move on. It would then be showing, let's say, green. But if you are not sure about it and you're marking it, let's say in the second round, then you be clear. You would want to come back to only those questions which are red, that means they are unattempted, or which are purple, which you have marked for review to come back later. You can answer them and mark for review, or you can also mark for review without answering them. So be very clear, and you would want to come back to only those questions which are marked red or purple. So use the color palette intelligently. Also, plan your attempt in such a way that you have a time of, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes at the end remaining in your hands, which you can utilize to revise all the 65 questions. You know that in the examination or in the mock test that you have attempted, you have made some silly mistakes. Now, silly mistakes can be easy to catch if you come back to all these questions at a later time with a fresh mind. So the key here is to look at these questions with a fresh mind. Only then you will be able to identify if you have made any silly mistake or not. For example, things such as you did not see something written as not in the question. So that would spoil the issue. Similarly, if we are asking about range of r square and you blindly mark the answer as 0 or blindly mark the answer as -1 to 1. So then you did not read carefully r square. You just marked the answer for r. Such things do happen in the examination almost with all candidates. So the key here is to minimize these things. And it would be helpful if you can save some 10-15 minutes at the end to do a revision. If there is a question from any topic that you have no idea about, let's say you find the numerical and you have no clue about it, then skip this numerical right away. Do not first spend few minutes on it and then decide you want to skip it. If you do not know it, do not attempt it in the first round. You leave it for the end. If you have time left for the end, then you can devote towards it. But in the end, in the beginning, do only those questions whose answer you know with confidence. And the most important thing is, do not get stuck to any question in the exam, no matter what happens. For example, in the year 2021, there was a question from ISLM, easy normal ISLM numerical. But the thing is that out of the 4 options given, none of them was correct. That means it was a wrong question. But candidates, of course, did not know about it. No one knew that सिर्फ मेरा नहीं हो रहा, साथ वाले का भी नहीं हुआ है. So I know people who had devoted nearly 15 minutes to this question, and because of so much time being devoted to this question, they could not attempt many other questions. So that situation we don't want to get into. If we encounter a question which we are not able to solve immediately, no problem, leave it right now, come back to it later after you have attempted all other questions. Because then you can attempt this question with a fresh mind. Now you try to do it. If it happens, good enough. If it does not happen, move to other questions still. And once you do the remaining questions, then you can still come back to it. Remember, in the examination pressure, we will not be able to decide whether it is actually a mistake from IBPS side or whether we are making some mistake. But we have to tell ourselves that it might be our mistake, because IBPS mistakes at this point are not in our hands, so we don't even want to think about them. So one important point here, you might be wondering कि जो ये गलत question आया था, how did IBPS treat this question, right? So let's answer this question now. So this information I had obtained from RBI under RBI Act. You can read the entire question, but to summarize, I had asked whether in the year RBI DEPR 2021, 2 and 3 examination, were there any questions which were wrong? If yes, how did they deal with it? So the reply was that in financial year 2021, 2 questions were ignored for evaluation for RBI DEPR phase 1 exam. However, benefit of marks were given to those candidates who had attempted the exam. The bottom line is, as per RBI, there were no wrong questions in the year 2022 and 2023. Of course, many of you may disagree, but let's not get into that argument. The conclusion that I want you to to derive at is that do not be in a hurry to conclude that the question given is wrong. Rather, try to find where we are going wrong. And out of the given options, try to select the most appropriate one. Now, in summary, all that I will say is that you already know enough. You have studied this subject for at least 2 years and most probably for 5 years. And during the last few months also, you have prepared, you have practiced. So you have sufficient information. If you can execute it well during these 4 hours, you will find yourself to be in a good position as far as this exam is concerned. So your focus should be now on execution and do not do any silly thing which can spoil your attempt. For example, things such as sleeping very late on the day before the exam. You know you have to wake up on time, so you would want to fall asleep on time. It is possible that because of the examination pressure next day, you might not be able to sleep immediately. It's okay. Lie down, try to calm your mind, and the next day your adrenaline will keep you active. But your job is to lie down on time. Try to do your best to fall asleep on time. Have plenty of water. Stay hydrated. Stay healthy. Avoid the mosquitoes. At this time, you will find that many people are falling ill because of some disease or the other. And even last year, there were candidates who had fallen ill between phase 1 and phase 2 exam. So avoid all those things which you feel might make you unwell. And yes, it is possible that many of you may end up making silly mistakes still. You might have already seen in the mock test. Try to minimize them, but just 1 or 2 silly mistakes, I can assure you, may not cost you your chance, because generally people do make silly mistakes. And if you have made, it is possible that your competitor may also end up making. But as far as possible, try to minimize on them. And if you can do that, you will increase your probability of success. Throw away all inhibitions. Do not have any type of inhibition at this stage. Do not think कि मेरे उस mock test में कम marks थे, किसी और के ज़्यादा थे, etc. etc. Over the past few years, I have seen many cases in which people performed different compared to their performance in the mock test. Just because a person was not playing well in the nets, that does not mean that person cannot go out and make a century. So you have to have confidence over yourself. I wish you all the very best for this exam, and I sincerely hope that you do your best.